Hi there, and welcome to Living with Victory, brought to you today by Teague's Grocery and Cafe, serving Maggie Valley since 1965. Teague's is Maggie Valley's only grocery store. They're located at 130 Soco Road near the eastern entrance to the Great Smoky Mountain National Park and the Blue Ridge Parkway. You'll find supermarket product assortment in a smaller shopping environment with everything you need, whether you live in the area or are just passing through. Stop in for breakfast or lunch at the Corner Cafe, where they feature a variety of daily specials. Teague's Grocery and Cafe is open Sunday through Thursday from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. and Friday and Saturday from 7 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. Call them at 828-926-1147 or stop in at 130 Soco Road in Maggie Valley. Teague's Grocery and Cafe. And by the way, today's program is also available on GodTube, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and at livingwithvictory.podbean.com. It's time for Living with Victory, a program of hope and encouragement brought to you by Living with Victory Ministries and listeners like you. In a moment, we'll join your hosts, Laureen and Tony Giorgio, for today's message of perseverance and hope.
So if life has left you kicking up dust, keep listening, keep looking up, and grab your umbrella, get ready to sing in the rain. God in His goodness is gathering showers of grace. Get ready to sing in the rain.
Hi, this is Tony Giorgio. Welcome to another edition of Living with Victory, where life isn't about waiting for the storms to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain with peace, joy, and victory in the midst of our storms, because Jesus is our umbrella. We invite you to check out our website at livingwithvictory.org or listen to our podcast right there. Send prayer requests, praise reports. We want to hear from you. You can order free resources and donate, most of all, through PayPal. And today, we are going to talk about, among many other things, God's love, and also, do we really know who God is or how powerful He is, and the majesty of God, the I am, and do you know who's going to help you climb life's mountains? He's right there. Laureen?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today's topic is about whose steps are you following? Proverbs 16:9 says, "A man's mind plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps and makes them sure." Psalm 37:23 through 24. The steps of a good man are directed and established by the Lord when he delights in his way. And he, God, busies himself with his every step he takes with us. Though he falls, if we fall, he shall not be utterly cast down. For the Lord grasps his hand in support and upholds him. Though he falls, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord grasps his hand in support and upholds him. God will never, ever let us fall so far from him that we would be lost. He loves us too much to do that.
That's pretty much what this book is all about. And I'm just going to read a little bit. I think I can, right? We have enough time?
Oh, yes.
This one page here from Billy Graham's book is filled with purpose. And it's saying, perhaps you see your life's journey as a series of unrelated events, some good, some bad, strung together like beads on a string. Or perhaps you feel trapped like a leaf in a rushing stream, tossed about by circumstances beyond your control. Or, like many people, you may never have stopped to think about the road you are traveling. Where are your steps? Is he watching your steps, or are you on your own? I just threw that in free. But God didn't intend for our journey through life to be this way. Instead, he means for it to be filled with joy and purpose, with even the most ordinary events being part of his plan. He always wants to guide us as we make decisions and give us hope for the future. And like we're saying, whose steps are you following?
First of all, when we have to trust, and we're going to trust in God, you cannot trust in someone you really don't fully understand or know. Not that we could ever fully or understand him, but to at least have a knowledge of who he is and what his attributes are. Of course, he's love. He is the creator of this mighty universe. He created you and me. He is the Alpha and Omega. He is the beginning and the end. And he knows the beginning from the end of your problem. He knows your life. He knows where you're heading. And he wants to walk with you step by step to get you where he intended for you to go. We have our own minds, and we always think, well, this is the way, this is my plan.
Right.
And I have learned that's my first big mistake.
Over and over and over.
I have learned to say, Lord, your will, your way, your timing, because I really don't want it my way.
Yes.
I've learned too many times that I've had to pay a heavy price for insisting on my way.
Exactly. And I remember at the end of 2018 saying, 2019 is going to be the best, the biggest. We're moving forward. We're going to go on with our internet radios. We're going to do this and that. And I got the news for you. My steps that I took in that regard, no way. I got news for you.
We've made a U-turn.
A U-turn? My God, my head's spinning. Well, see, just to put it into a capsule, the end of the year. Well, since that August, okay? I mean, between car accidents, okay, and then back injuries with the car accident, and we really shouldn't be here after that car accident. Was unbelievable. But with the storms and the snowstorms, everything that happened with hospital stays, but all along the way, it got progressively worse. And it just turned us around. God had other plans.
When God has a purpose, now we never know what his purpose is. And he's not going to tell you, because he won't let you see into the future, because then that would not be faith. He wants us to trust him. And he said he will walk with us step by step, step by step. He is not leaving us alone, but he took us into total chaos.
Total chaos. Total. I mean,
with everything that happened, as I say, God has a purpose. And when he decides to use you for his purpose and his glory, which many times he does, it gets painful to us because we don't understand why we're not traveling the way we intended to travel. We're going backwards.
Yeah, well, it's true. Let me give you one quick one day, because it's kind of funny. It really is. One day, the tree incident and the car, okay? Think of this, all right, as the domino effect. I had a little tree that came down in a windstorm, came and fell in the yard, blocking the car on one side. I couldn't get out of my own driveway because of the tree. Okay, so we have another car, and we're going to move the car out of the way, but it doesn't start. So now we're going to try to start it. It won't start at all. Okay, jumped it. Okay, my nephew tries to push it. He pushes it, but it's rolling, and then it stops rolling. So we try to turn the wheel a little bit, and I backed into the fallen tree. Well, you say, at least, it's on the ground. You're not up in the air. But I couldn't get out of the car. I was trapped in my own car. I couldn't get from one side to the other. My back's killing me. I can't get, and he can't move it. So now, here we are. So we have to call a tow truck. Now, mind you, this is all maybe within an hour of our day, okay? Talk about chaos. So the man comes and he starts the engine up and we get to move. Everything's fine. It's out of the way. Now, stop laughing. That's not funny. But so he's all done, and I mean, it's pretty muddy. It's been raining and snowing, and he's backing out of the driveway to get out and get going, and we waved goodbye and thanked him. And, you know, I had this ranch fencing on one side of the driveway.
You heard he said had. Well, as the driver passed by, he must have, now, old fencing. I mean, it was on its way out. He must have nicked it. Well, the fence fell. I mean, it fell apart. I mean, it just fell apart and disintegrated. I mean, it went poof, over with. That was it. And so he's trying to get out of the way, and he goes to the other side of the drive, but he tips off the driveway into a little mud hole, okay? And he can't get out, and he has to call his boss to bring a tow truck to get the tow truck out. That's one little day. Okay. But that's pretty much the way it's been since last August.
It's chaos.
But, you know, and things do get messy when God has a purpose and
Yes.
you don't understand why things are happening. And I know that all of you have had situations like this.
Every single one of you.
And you just can't understand why you can't move forward or accomplish what you're trying to accomplish for good. But, you know, sometimes you have to just stop and say, you know what, Lord, you do have a purpose. You're using me for that purpose and for your glory. Even though it's a mess, even though it's chaotic, and I can't see a way out of everything because there are so many different subjects that are just not just one thing that's happening that's wrong, but so many different areas. But I know that you are the creator of this universe. I know you're a God of love. I know you love me. I know you created me. I know you care about me. And I'm privileged that you would think of using me to go through this mess, to trust me enough to accomplish your purpose. So if you sit back and just let him manipulate you from, you know, walk with you for whatever purpose he is trying to accomplish,
guide you,
you kind of relax and go with it, knowing that he's in total control and that in the end it's all going to work out.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that one woman that I read a story about, an elderly woman who was brought in by an ambulance into the emergency room, and she was in such awful pain. All she kept saying over and over again was, Lord, I don't know why this is happening, but it's for your glory. You have a purpose. I don't know why, but I'm in such terrible pain. And the doctor knew the pain she was in because he knew what was wrong with her. But this doctor was an atheist, and he didn't believe in God. But God chose this woman to go through that because by the time she had her surgery and by the time the doctor got to know her, he believed because he wanted to know the God that would inspire such loyalty
right,
to himself.
Yeah, and it's so true. You know, sometimes what you're going through, God has you there for a specific purpose for someone else to get the benefits. And it depends on how you react to it that makes somebody else say, there is a God. And that's what's important. It's not because he's making us suffer,
no,
but to show us, too, that there is a God, that's almighty. He's not like us, and he can handle it. There's no doubt about it.
Well, he says, come to me and rest in me, no matter what you're going through, whether he's orchestrating it or we caused it ourselves,
Yes.
or either way, his word is true for whoever caused it.
That's right.
He is willing to walk with us step by step and help us out. And if we're walking with him with that personal relationship, you hear that still small voice saying, oh, not that way, go this way. But you can't hear that voice if you're not listening. And that's the point of it. If he is willing, the God of this universe is willing to take every step with you, we should be listening.
You can't throw up your hands and give up because he's working with you. He hasn't disappeared. Tell him the story about our friend, a good friend of ours, and his dismay.
Well, he was a little bit depressed one day.
Yeah.
Sometimes at work, politics gets in the way, and he was kind of feeling like he was kind of pushed to the back. And well, actually, the way he described it, he was in the trunk of the car.
And he couldn't get out.
I just simply said to him, but you know what? Jesus is in that trunk with you. Now, I know that may have sounded funny to him because he kind of looked at me that way. But the fact of the matter is, I don't care what circumstance you're going through.
He's in the trunk with you.
Jesus is right by your side.
But you know what was great? It was that little smirk on his, that lip of his turned up and the frown was gone.
Now, we all know it. It's just that sometimes we have to be reminded of it.
Yes, and I do too. Let me tell you. Because, I'm telling you, everything this year, what happened, because we're moving forward, we're going to be greater this year than we ever were. I was more on my back than I was on my feet. And then to top it all off, the little story, a quick one, because we're full of them, stories. My insurance company changes my medication, okay, from something I've taken for years for my asthma. So I go to a new inhaler, okay? I take 1 or 2 treatments, and I had the most life-threatening side effects of this medication. This is after I've been out of the hospital. I can't breathe. This is a breathing. You're supposed to make you breathe. Chest pains, rash. I came down. I thought the locust hit me. It was incredible. We have come out of the dark and into the light. We have, because I know we didn't get a chance to raise all the money we wanted to over the season and all of that, but God has blessed us in so many ways, ways. Donations we never thought of. God was saying, hey, it's okay. I'm here.
Even though we're explaining everything, it sounds so terrible, and maybe from somebody looking from the outside in, it is. When you know your God, you know who he is, and you can rest in him. You know he's in control. You just feel he is going to take care of everything, and you can have your peace and your joy and your victory while you're going through all of this. And that does change your attitude. And when your attitude is good and you know that God is working through you, what a privilege that is alone. But there's something good coming, and you live with expectancy.
Exactly. And like I said before, sometimes he has to position you from where you were to get you to where he wants you to go. He wants you to go. Allowing him to have his way, even though it looks like it's crazy and complete chaos. We've learned, right, Laureen?
Yes.
We have learned he has the best. He brings blessings into that chaos. And, before we go forward, just a little reminder about our website, livingwithvictory.org. And, you can contact us by snail mail if you like. Our address is P.O. Box 1982 in Maggie Valley, North Carolina, 28751. And you can send a donation if you'd like there. Our email address is livingwithvictory@gmail.com. We want to especially thank, in the area here, there's a young man and his wife who owns a Shell station up here called Teague's Superette, and they are partnering with us to help us with gas cards for our ministry to the children's hospitals. Right, Laureen?
Yes.
And you can stop by if you're in the area, make a donation there, and we go by there and pick up the gas cards. And we're just delighted at Teague Superette, and Leah and Derek. We thank you. We're really, and that's a blessing. I didn't have the funds to send out more gas cards, and God bless these people. They came forward, and we're so blessed. So remember that He's with us.
I do want to read something from My Utmost for His Highest by Oswald Chambers. This is January 25th. It says, leave room for God. In your mess, leave room for God. Galatians 1:15, when it pleased God. As servants of God, we must learn to make room for Him, to give God elbow room. We plan and figure and predict that this or that will happen, but we forget to make room for God to come in as He chooses. Would we be surprised if God came into our meeting or into our preaching or our office, school, and our life, no matter what situation you're in a way we had never expected Him to come? Do not look for God to come in a particular way, but do look for Him. Expect Him. The way to make room for Him is to expect Him to come, but not in a certain way. No matter how well we may know God, the great lesson to learn is that He may break in at any minute. We tend to overlook this element of surprise, yet God never works in any other way. Suddenly, God meets our life when it pleased God. Keep your life so constantly in touch with God that His surprising power can break through at any moment. Live in a constant state of expectancy and leave room for God to come in as He decides.
And you won't be disappointed. Do we have enough time to tell a little story only about how God works, where He leads your steps?
That's right.
We were talking earlier about Mark Rutland, our former pastor, right?
Yes.
And he was out evangelizing. He had taught a group of people, and he was taking people out into the area to evangelize. And driving along, he had a man with him. I'll cut it short and paraphrase it, but he passed this shack, this scary looking house, and the Lord said, stop here. I want you to turn into the driveway. And he said, oh, that don't look like anything. We really don't. And the fellow that was with him said, you don't really want to go there, do you? Consequently, he did. They knocked on the door in the front, and there's music blaring. This was several years ago. I mean, there's wild music going on, and nobody's answering. He said, well, let's go around the back, knowing Mark. He went around the back. There's a big old fence he can't see, but he hears a lot of noise and stuff going on and music. And he opens the gate, and as he attempts to step in, it's a biker group congregating at a party here. And he said the fella at the door had a tattoo on his arm, and it said, "Born to Kill." He had a strange feeling that life was over as he knew it. And the fella he was training was several feet behind him. And Mark walked in and said, okay, Lord, he said a prayer. He said, I may die here today, but I'm going forward. And he told them he was there to give them God's word, and he preached the word for their salvation. He told them, and he said he heard language like he'd never heard before used the way it was toward him. And he said, oh, surely I'm finished. I'm over with. And then he did a call. Anybody who wanted to be saved after he prayed, raise your hands. And not one hand raised, but a lot of scary voices. And he said, well, it's over with. And as things quieted down and he was about to give up and walk away, he hears this voice saying, I've got my hand raised, right? I'm paraphrasing, and he can't see anybody. In the middle of the yard, there was a pool table covered by a drape. You couldn't see the legs. Out from under that pool table came this little 10-year-old boy with his hands raised. He wanted to be saved. And his mother stood there, and his daddy, who looked like an axe murderer, but we won't go there. And this little boy came to Mark to be saved, and he prayed over him. And what a blessing. God leads in mysterious ways. Don't give up. Don't be afraid to open the doors to chaos. And surely don't worry about somebody who doesn't look like you do, because God wants him to. He made him. You know, he made her. He made all of us. If Mark Rutland did not take the call and say, yeah, I'm going in, there was this 10-year-old who would have never heard the word and raised his hand. And we're in the same position, Laureen and I. We're following. That's what we're doing now. Forget about 2019 and my grandeur or what I'm planning or what you're planning. He has it already laid out. We're just following him, and he's done wonders for us. We're going back to visit the hospitals in Florida and visit some of our board members and all, because a donor has come forward and actually sponsored the trip. It's there. It's there. It's happening.
God gives you what you need when you need it.
And remember, if you're hanging on for life and that rope's breaking, grab that hand up there. He's extended that hand to you and pull up. Just like Peter on the water, he looked away and he sank. Don't look away. Hang on. He'll pull you right out of the darkness into the light, no matter what it is. He has the way. And that's the lesson for today. If you don't learn anything else, please, whose steps are you following? And I'm one who very seldom follows any steps. And that causes a lot of anxiety in my life. And I'm learning, thanks to my sidekick over here, who just keeps me on track. And I know that my Jesus lives. We are so happy to be here with you. And listen up to our announcer, and he'll tell you more. Have a great day. This is Laureen and Tony Giorgio. Have a great day. And remember, Jesus is your umbrella in the storms.
Help Laureen and Tony in their ministry by becoming a Living with Victory partner. You can make a donation of any amount through PayPal at livingwithvictory.org or send your check to Living with Victory, P.O. Box 1982, Maggie Valley, North Carolina, 28751. That's Living with Victory, P.O. Box 1982, Maggie Valley, North Carolina, 28751. And remember, you can make a donation or purchase gas cards for Living with Victory's Fuel for Life program at Teague's Superette at 130 Soco Road in Maggie Valley. You've been listening to Living with Victory with Laureen and Tony Giorgio, who for over 30 years have advocated for seriously ill children through Compassion Children's Foundation, today known as Living with Victory Ministries. Support for this radio ministry and our outreach programs comes from listeners like you. Many families that have children that need daily treatments for their illnesses are extremely challenged due to the cost of simply getting to the treatment facilities. Our Fuel for Life outreach supplies gas cards to families at 4 children's hospitals. You can support our outreach programs by sending your tax-deductible donations to Living with Victory, P.O. Box 1982, Maggie Valley, North Carolina, 28751. If you'd like to become a sponsor of this radio ministry, we'd love to hear from you as well. Thanks for listening.
So if life has left you kicking up dust, keep listening, keep looking up, and grab your umbrella, get ready to sing in the rain. Get ready. God in His goodness is gathering showers of grace. Get ready to sing in the rain.
The preceding program was brought to you by Teague's Superette and Cafe at 130 Soco Road in Maggie Valley. Call them at 828-926-1147. You can hear this program and others from Living with Victory Ministries on YouTube, GodTube, iTunes, Spotify, and at livingwithvictory.podbean.com.